Muy buenas tardes, tengan todos ustedes. Qué gusto me da poder encontrarlos el día de hoy. Mi nombre es Axel Barceló y tenemos una sesión más de estante remoto desde el corazón de Coyoacán para el mundo, y el día de hoy tenemos un invitado muy especial. The interview is going to be in English, I assume, right? But
We can try it also in Spanish, si tú quieres. ¿Sí?
Ok, entonces podemos empezar en español. Si
Sí.
hablo lento y alto, creo
Sí.
que efectivamente el día, okay, so the first introduction to my Spanish speaking hearers. El día de hoy estamos con Phil Beaumont de Color 49. Ellos van a estar en unos días aquí en México y esa es la razón principal por la cual estamos el día de hoy platicando con ellos. No es la primera vez que están en México, ¿verdad? Esta próxima visita.
No, teníamos unas tocadas en febrero de 2020. Serían las últimas tocadas para nosotros antes de pandemia, ¿no?
Uh-huh.
Sí.
¿Dónde tocaron?
Pinchy Bar y McCarthy's.
Cool. Uh-huh.
Sí.
Eso fue en el... ¿Por qué tienen esta relación tan importante con México? ¿Por qué es importante para ustedes venir a México?
Es una buena pregunta, porque soy un inmigrante, nací en Inglaterra y tenía el privilegio de viajar mucho. Y yo vivo en San Diego y estamos vecinos de Tijuana, ¿no? Es como 15 o 17 minutos desde mi casa a la frontera. Así tenemos relaciones con muchos amigos de músicos y de alguien que haciendo documentales allá. Entonces tenemos las relaciones y me encanta la ciudad de Tijuana y también me encanta la ciudad de México, ¿no? Y así encontramos a Marla Gámez para ayudarnos para tener tocadas en México, y la relación crece y crece, y ella está apoyándonos en otras formas, ¿no? Con conexiones y nos encanta México, ¿no? La Ciudad de México, y yo visité como 12, 13 veces en mi vida. Me encanta la ciudad. Así.
¿Por qué viajabas tanto?
Es una ciudad enorme y tiene varias cosas, varios lugares que son diferentes. Me encanta la gente, me encanta la comida, me encanta el ambiente. ¿No? Para mí es como Nueva York, pero en Latinoamérica, ¿no? A veces, ¿sí? Y vivía en Londres, y también hay una conexión para mí con Londres, ¿no? Es una ciudad muy activo, ¿no? Hay mucha arte, hay mucha cultura que está pasando, y creo que todos los tiempos que yo visito a la Ciudad de México, yo vi algo diferente, ¿no? Entonces, aquí en San Diego es una ciudad muy nice, bonito, la gente son bonitos, pero es un poco aburrido, ¿no? Así es. Me encanta esta ciudad, pero me encanta viajar. Entonces, si podemos tener la oportunidad de irnos a México o Japón o Europa, queremos que hacerlo, ¿no?
Entonces, okay, I'm going to ask now in English because it's a little more complicated the question. So, but you also said that you traveled a lot in general, so to other places. How much of this traveling has to do with the band, and how much it is personal travel?
I think it's both. For me, I like to travel a lot, and actually was kind of the genesis of this band. Was I was about to travel to Japan, and I was at a music shop, and I found a little baritone ukulele, And so I thought, oh, this might be cool to travel with. And I didn't know how to play it. I'm usually a bass player. And so I took it on this trip and I started, playing around, plucking around. And that's basically all the songs of the Color 49 have been written on that baritone ukulele. And so something that I learned, and then just kind of, because I didn't know it very well, I think I was also finding ways to play it that maybe wouldn't be so traditional. And that's helped kind of form some of the quirkiness of our songs, I think.
But how do you go from a solo ukulele to a band? Because the Color is 49 is a band.
I'm very lucky because I have wonderful bandmates who are multi-instrumentalists and super talented. They know everything. I don't. I'm playing my instrument and I'm not even sure what chords I'm playing. And then they can work around that. So, and one of the cool things about this band is that everybody's playing something, well, for the most part, that they didn't normally play in another band. So our bass player is known around San Diego as a very great drummer, but he's playing bass in this band. And then Scott, who plays drums now, is known for having his own band and leading his own band with guitar and keyboards, but he's drumming with us. And then we have Matt, who is our violin and keyboard player, and that's his specialty. So he's in the right place. But I think it was interesting for everybody to kind of approach this band in a new way for everybody. No?
But isn't it hard? I mean, with you as a bass player, to hear a new bass player and say like, "Oh, that's not the way I would have played it."
It would be if he wasn't he's a much better bass player than I will ever be. So he's, like I said, he's an amazing instrumentalist. But like initially I had written some bass lines and he played those, and but then added, he starts adding things. And then when we write songs together, they're all great musicians. And so luckily I can have something in a melody and we try it, and then they add the spices to the song.
So that means that you knew each other before being in the bands, just from your previous band, from the scene.
Yeah, exactly. Being on tour together in different formats, yeah.
Okay, so then what is special about this band? I mean, why, after the bands you've been and all the bands that they are playing, what makes it special? But for example, when you already told us that you wrote these songs like all together in this with this instrument, but conceptually, were you thinking about something that would classify these songs as songs for these bands and not something that you could have done with any of your previous bands?
I think it just became the focus. This band became more of the focus. When you start off trying to put a band together, you try it out and see where it goes, and then sometimes it feels right, and sometimes it's too much work and it doesn't work out. But this band, I think I feel very honored that these guys trust the songs that I initiate, that I begin, and then they like to bring out that. One of the things I like to do when I travel is go to different places, and it sparks a new idea, right? So, and sometimes that travel for me is just going down to Tijuana and sitting in, my favorite bar down there, the Dandy del Sur, and just kind of looking around and seeing folks and creating stories that come from that experience. But I think these guys, they're also in other bands, but I think the fact that we are doing a lot of work around this is also attractive to those guys to be part of this, no? So we're putting a lot of effort into this band, it feels good.
But also something that at least I noticed a lot, something that really caught my attention about this project is all this expanded team of collaborators that are also not exactly part of the band, but are essential, especially to the project of this album. How did this came about? How did you decide that this was not going to be just the four of you, right? But you wanted to involve all these other people, and not just musically, but also visually and going in all these other directions.
Yeah, I think, one thing that we said early on with this band is let's try to do things that we enjoy, right? Because is music a career? It's hard to do that as a career. If we look at it as if we're trying to make money from this, it's going to be, no, we're not, we all know that. So what can we do with this band to make it exciting for us to want to continue? And part of that is traveling to interesting places, but also part of that is collaborating with interesting artists and other people, right? And so, and when you do that, you add on, each step brings you a little bit further and makes another connection here and another connection there. And I really value that. I think we all really value that, and we're seeing the fruits of that now too. For the song that we did with Ruben Albarán, and then we had this amazing collaboration with somebody that I never thought I'd be able to collaborate with. And then from there we had this song. I said, okay, we have to honor this song now. And then we reached out to Hugo Crosswaite, the artist that has done. He won the Smithsonian National Portrait Gallery Prize for another animated video that he did. And I didn't know him, but his drawings are, the song that we did has border themes, no? And his artwork also has that. He lives in near Tijuana in Rosarito, and his drawings to me, it spoke to, this could be a video for this song. And so I reached out to him, and when I finally connected with him, he was into the idea and spent 3 months hand drawing an animated video for us. And so when something like that happens, it just then opens another door, right? And so now we're helping him to kind of expose him more to the art world, and we're going to bring him down to Mexico City, and he's going to do a live mural when we play down there at Rivinilo.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so continue.
It's when I think when you put it out there, the worst thing that can happen is someone says no, or I'm busy. But generally, what happens, I think, particularly in this past year, during COVID, everybody's pretty open to, hey, what's going on? Yeah, I've got some time. Right?
Was there still somebody who said no? Were some plans that just, no, everybody just was enthusiastic?
No, everybody, yeah. I mean, there was one group, we have some plans with a couple puppeteers.
Awesome.
That we want to do a video with, and it just, their schedule didn't line up with my late schedule, and so we'll do something with them down the line. But yeah, and we've got ideas for a song that's going to be on not this EP but the next one that I want to use dancers for, just because it's got more of an electronic vibe, and I've never done anything like that, so that's exciting to us, no? To try things that, yeah, we've never done that. Let's try that.
And how much does this come from you, and how much does it come from the rest of the band? How do you make these decisions together?
I think I lead the way a lot on this, and I always try to collaborate with them, and this is some ideas, and then get everybody's input on that. But I tend to do more of the behind the scenes work, but that's okay. Everybody's doing their part in complementing the music, which is, it's the most important thing, ideally.
Okay, now so let's talk in more concrete terms about your coming visit. So when are you coming to Mexico City?
So I'll be coming to Mexico City on July 27th, and we have a show at Rey Vinilo on July 30th. We have a show in Querétaro on July 31st. Wow. We are maybe going to play a show in León. We had a show lined up in Guanajuato, but the club got shut down, I guess, unfortunately, for, I think. And then we're playing in Puebla on August 5th. And then we're playing at Bajo Circuito in Mexico City, La Condesa, on August 7th. And that is with Love Electric is going to play, as well as Polar. Oh my goodness, I'm forgetting their name. That's terrible. But Ruben Albarán is going to join us for the show at
Bajo Circuito, yes.
Circuito. So we did the collaboration with him for that song, What Would I Know? And he's going to come and sing with us. So
wow, that's awesome.
And
so we can already get the tickets to the Bajo Circuito show?
The tickets are available, and the good news is the tickets are free, but you just have to get some tickets. That's all. So there's a link, I think, at Bajo Circuito.
So you have to go to Bajo Circuito. You cannot just order online?
There's some, yeah, you can get them online. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to order mine because also I love Electric. They're also
one
of my favorite bands too. Like I think right now, maybe even the greatest band to see live in Mexico City, in my humble opinion.
That's great.
So yeah, that's going to be a great show. How did you choose to perform with them, or were they assigned to you?
Marla also has a connection with them, so she's talked about us collaborating on a show before, so that should be great. And the other band is Rosa Polar.
Oh, I don't know them. Rosa Polar, yes.
I think they're from Mexico City.
So I also read that La Bruja de Texcoco is also going to be there in that show. Going to, yeah.
Yeah. So when I came down last March to do a little recording and a photo shoot with Ruben, and then we did an acoustic version of the song, and it was Ruben, La Bruja de Texcoco, and Moises Garcia, who plays the trumpet on the song. And so it was the four of us, and we were able to put together a pretty wonderful version of the song that we're going to wait to release that video maybe in August. And so.
That's great. I hadn't heard about that. So this one was in March of this year?
Yeah, I came down just to do some work with Marla and Ruben. And then when we came down, and the idea was to record an acoustic version, and it got into a bigger production, and it was pretty cool. So we'll release that a little bit later on.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to watch it. Okay, now I want to go back. Okay, now that we are up to date on what are the forthcoming plans, and people know that they have to get those tickets, and that you're also the selection of cities is great in the center area of the country. I want to go back now to how did it all start? I mean, how did you decide even to become a musician? How did you go from somebody who, like probably most of us, enjoys music to somebody who said like, no, I have to do it. It's not enough just to listen.
So when I was a kid, I listened to records just super loud in my house. There's all kinds of records from, I growing up in England, I was listening to a lot of two-tone and ska, and then reggae, but got into heavy metal, got into punk, got into everything you can imagine. And like, in the 80s, like Echo and the Bunnymen and all bands like that. And I never thought of myself being able to be in a band, but I would just sing and sing and sing and sing and sing. And when I went to university, I had a friend, and he was learning how to play guitar, and he told me, he suggested, you should buy a bass so that we can learn together. And that's what we did. And so we just, played, cover tunes and stuff to start off with. And then I got more interested, going, oh yeah, we can do this, we can do something with this. And so, but then I got the opportunity to go to London and be a tour manager for my friend's band at the time called the God Machine. They're an amazing, heavy band from San Diego, but they transplanted themselves in London. And then they ended up getting on the Cure's label. And so we were able to do some big tours, including touring with Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, including touring with the Cramps, and we did the Reading Festival and whatnot. So that really gave me a taste of what, life in making music could be, and that was a very exciting time when there was a lot of, at that time, there's still a lot of guitar-driven music that was very, very popular. So then I ended up coming back to San Diego and working on my own music as well, and had a couple bands that had fun with, and we toured, and there was a band called maquiladora that we were able to tour around Europe and toured Japan a few times, but to, good critical acclaim, but no commercial success, because as we know, it's hard. But from that, that's the way I met some of the guys in this band, and made connections in Japan and made connections in Europe. And so it's just, it evolved over time. And so I've always had a big, day job. Up until 16 days ago, I was the director of an elementary school.
Awesome.
So I was, teaching.
Well, except for the 16 days part, because why not anymore?
It's, I was teaching, and I've been in education for a long time, 26 years. And my job as a teacher, I started off as a teacher, never thought that I'd be a director or, administrator. No, it's not for me. I ended up doing it because it's a special small school with, that deals with arts and project-based stuff. And so there came a time when we needed somebody to step in, and so I did, and that was 18 years ago. And just the school grew and grew, and then all the paperwork also grew and grew and grew and grew. And so for me, I just needed to put a pause and take a break. And this year was a good indicator of now is a good time to take that break.
So you're going to keep teaching, but no longer being director?
I'm lucky that I can just take a break and maybe focus on music for a moment, So that's what I'm going to be doing for the time being. But also, when you do that, you open yourself up to other possibilities, no? And just yesterday, I was talking with somebody in Mexico City that is, I'm very much interested in the idea of supporting immigrants. And just yesterday, I met somebody, and he has a project that is looking to do just that. And so he was asking, can you help me with this? And this is going to be exciting for me to be sort of freelance to whatever might occur, no?
That's also pretty brave of you, to like leave behind something that has been like a lifetime of activity. Yeah. And no, congratulations, actually. That's pretty admirable.
6-month transition, so yes, it's been strange, but a bit surreal.
Perfect. And I remember Maquiladora. I used to be subscribed to the Little Darla. Remember the Little Darla compilations? Yeah, and I also liked.
You are one of 10 people in the world that know that.
Oh, come on. It was awesome. I was subscribed to it, but it was difficult to get it to Mexico. But they did. I received it in the mail. I never missed an issue until I couldn't get it anymore. But yeah, that's how I knew of Maquiladora. It's really, really good. And also through Aquarela, which is the other label. But that's also why I wanted to start asking about this kind of Latin connection, because you call your band Maquiladora, you release stuff on a Spanish label, you're working with Ruben Alvarez. So I always thought there had to be something connecting all these Latin elements in your career, but it's just like wanderlust, right?
Yeah, essentially that, and the opportunities, no? I said, maybe if I lived in Vancouver, it wouldn't happen, but here I cross the border all the time. And so it just, and here we have maquiladoras on the border, and that's where the name comes from, and then I think our connection to Aquarela Records was also through Darla Records.
Oh, cool.
So we toured over there in Spain as Maquiladora.
Darla is also in California, right?
Yeah, but they live in Hawaii.
Oh, awesome. I didn't know.
Yeah, he still has his sort of house as a warehouse here for doing Darla, but they live in Hawaii, and they're growing macadamia nuts. Yeah.
Reinvention. Maybe I should try it sometime, and maybe become a juggler or something like that.
Exactly.
But on the other hand, I mean, I bet there are a lot of musicians, there are a lot of artists in San Diego who are still in San Diego, are also next block to all these things, and that doesn't mean that they are involved with them, that they would they would do this. So it is not just location, right?
It's true. No, it's true. You know, I try to be an ambassador almost. It's, you know, for Tijuana, and try to take people down. And, you know, unfortunately, there was all the violence that happened in 2008, 9, 10 that scared a lot of people, and then they're still scared. You know, and then if you look at the statistics, there's still a lot of, you know, trouble happening in Tijuana, but that trouble is, I think it's really focused on the cartel issues, no? And but that's still, that taste, I think, is still an issue for people here.
So people have told you, what are you doing? Why are you going down there? Are you scared that you're going to be kidnapped or things like that?
I have a plan that I only tell my mother that I'm in Mexico after I'm back. Because it's not worth her worry.
Oh, by the way, has she listened to your bands? Has she heard you play live?
Yeah, they like it. I think they like the fact that, you know, my parents are very much into classical music, and, you know, they were into Simon and Garfunkel. So like, I think they like the lyrical aspect of it, but they love to hear violin and things like, oh, that's very sophisticated.
How late into your career did they come to hear you play? Or since the beginning, they would support your first bands and things like that?
They later when things became a little bit more sophisticated, I think, and for them, you know, they haven't been to too many shows. They live out of town. So.
Oh, okay. So they don't live in the UK. They live
in United States, but they live right now about 6 hours away.
Okay, yeah, so it can be hard to have them over all the time to listen to you. Okay, but then, so you were like doing working with this band, but you said you started to do your own thing. When did you start composing, right? Because it's the difference between picking up the guitar and just saying, okay, now it's not enough that I am playing, I also want to write my own thing. How did that come about? How did you realize that you could even write a song?
You know, I think that it came from necessity, because like learning an instrument, as I mentioned, truly, I'm not a great instrumentalist. And so I find it easier to write something rather than learn somebody else's song. Right? So because of that, we started kind of experimenting. With Maquiladora, there was a lot of one of the ethos that we had was, let's pick up that instrument and see what we can do with it, right? Whether that was an organ or an accordion or whatever it was, let's see what we can build around that. And it's going to sound a little different because we don't know exactly what we're doing sometimes, right? So I think that was sort of what helped me to start writing, was out of necessity. And then I love writing, and so I have like a little libreta with me pretty much wherever I go. And I have a stack of them. You know, I have a friend of mine, the guy that was in Maquiladora, and he's actually in Mexico City today. The first time we went to Mexico City, we would have one of these little books, and as we were writing songs, I would write a line and hand it over to him, and he'd write a line, just, you know, playing little games like that. But I think having that opportunity to have a little book with you whenever an idea is sparked is a great thing for lyrics and poetry and things like that. Now, of course, we have our telephones, right? So if a melody comes anywhere, you can just record that, you know. And so that's you know, I've got a huge bank of things that are ideas. Some might be really good in there, I don't know, we'll have to go back and see, but some are going to be terrible, I'm sure. Yeah.
But does that mean that the songs start with the lyrics? You start with or how do they come together?
Sometimes if I've got something that I've written out, it might be like that, but for the most part it'll be just sort of improvising, trying to find a melody on the ukulele, and then from there, singing on top of that, finding melodies that work. And then maybe from there, here comes a sentence or a phrase that makes sense, or oh, there's an idea for something, and then building lyrics around that. That's been the process, I think, most recently.
But then what have you noticed that has evolved more from the way and the kind of songs you are composing now from the one when you started just being like so discovering songwriting?
I think I put too much I think I put too much pressure on the lyrics. You know, maybe not too much. I think for me they're very important. And so sometimes the lyrics come out and it's done in a few days, and that's great. Sometimes it's 6 months, a year, and I'm still not happy with it, and so it puts a pause on a song, which it maybe isn't fair. And it's funny because then sometimes I listen to other songs that I like, you know, and their lyrics are just like rattlesnake, 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 and it's like, this is a huge song for these guys. It's all they're saying is rattlesnake. Why do I worry?
Like, have you tried to go like, oh no, let's go all the way to Dumbtown and just write the silliest lyrics, maybe liberate myself from the pressure?
I've been trying to liberate myself in saying, you know, not every verse has to be complex. We can repeat things. It's okay. That's okay. It's okay. It's okay. You can do that. Maybe that'll help things to be a bit more catchy too.
But that means that, for example, the tracks for the songs for this EP, how old are they, or how long did they take? There were some like that. Some of them took you a lot of time, or they just came out easily. How varied is this?
It's very varied. The song with Ruben was probably, well, you know, everything, it seems like we add a year to everything because of COVID, right? But we had been rehearsing that song or writing that song maybe for a year or 6 months before we then involved Ruben. Then a couple of songs that'll be on this EP we had recorded previously, but we didn't like the recording, and so we re-recorded those. And then a couple songs on here they happened this past year during our recording session. So the nice thing is that we spent this last year when we were all isolated to actually do the recordings, no? And that has also then helped us have this EP ready. And then we've got another EP ready to go, you know, probably in the winter time that we can release. And because those are all set, we're writing new songs right now. So that's kind of nice because in this world of streaming, it's kind of important to have something that comes out regularly, no? And so that wasn't the plan, but we're in a good situation right now to be able to, you know, kind of put out a new single every couple months, ideally. Great. So that's going to be the plan. We'll see how it goes.
So it is timing. That's what makes these tracks belong to this EP instead of the other, right? There is no like thematic unity or something like that. It's just because these are the first ones that you finished.
No, I mean, we had, you know, like 12 songs that we could look at, and we decided, let's do these 7 songs here, and then we keep these 5 for the next one. There is no great theme to things. I think that's one of the things that I also like about this band is that, you know, we have some songs that are there's a song on this EP that's coming out called I'm Gonna Try, and it's just heavy organ and synthesizer. It's long, it's slow, it's about 5.5 minutes long. And I love it. But it's not something that's gonna be radio friendly, no? And then we've got Another World, which I think is probably the most poppy song that we've ever come up with. Then String Ladder is, you know, it's also a slow burner, and so each song to me has a pretty different flavor. but it also is sort of made by the same cooks, no?
Okay, but how did you arrive to this sound? Where, like you already said, you used to listen to two-tone, which we cannot hear in in the band, and then you were involved in really heavy music. So how did this sound come about? What makes the difference between the music that you only listen to but you don't play, and the kind of music you like playing and composing?
That's a good question. I also listen to a lot of, Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Leonard Cohen, things like Bauhaus. And so there's sort of darker influences, I think, that have influenced my style of our style of writing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that when a lot of these songs start on a porch or in, on a balcony or in a bedroom. And so when it starts like that, it has a certain intimacy. And that's kind of fun because then you can introduce it to the rest of the band and then see where it goes from there. No?
Okay, so the idea is that instead of like thinking of the songs like already how they're going to sound, you try to just stay like really bare bones so that the band can create how it actually sounds.
Yeah, I think, it's pretty organic. A lot of them, come from just me, like the melodies on the ukulele is from me improvising, because like I said, I'm not saying, okay, it needs to be these 3 chords. I'm finding something, and torturing the people around me as I'm looking for something, and then, oh, this kind of sounds cool. And then I introduce that to the band, and we build around that.
And how often do they say, nope, I don't think this is going to work? Or do they always say, they always deliver something from whatever you turn?
We always give it a try. And then, there's some songs that are, like hanging on the wall still that this one, I like it, but not so much. There's some songs that breathe life and let's go with this. And then there's some that when you find that you're trying too hard, then it's probably not a great song.
But then when you finally have the song with all the input from the rest of the band, how often are you really surprised of how the song ends sounding? Like it was not what you thought when you were composing?
It's again, playing with these great musicians, and you have an idea for a song, and then somebody brings in a bass line and it builds that up, and then maybe Scott adds some keyboards or his drum track, but then truly the person that decorates the cake in the end is Matt on his violin. And so he will generally be somebody that comes in and adds his flavors at the end. And that's, for me, can be a pretty magical moment. For instance, I don't know if I tell this story correctly, but this is what I remember. We were on tour in Japan and we were writing the songs. We had still just written the song String Ladder. And so we were playing it there. And then he had been playing around with different violin melodies. And then just one night, he played something and I just turned and was like, that's it. That is beautiful. And so those moments of his improvisation on top of, we call it the snake ride. That this idea for him to go on a snake ride. I don't know where that term came from, but that just says improvise, do what you want, and find it. And that's a fun way to work, no? Without trying to dictate what's going on. Allows everyone to have their place.
And where does the audience fit in the composition process? Do you like sometimes play the songs for an audience before finishing just to see how they react, or you just play it once it's done and this is the song, like it or not?
Yeah, I think so. It's nice. We get excited about new songs, right? Because they're fresh. They're, oh, this feels good. This feels good. So for instance, we're going to play 2 or 3 songs on this tour that aren't recorded yet. And I think that's important because we're also thinking, let's play these songs and then record them right then. Because we played a little party at a ranch recently, and we played those songs, and we could see, oh, there was some connection to these songs. That's nice, and so that gives more enthusiasm to the song, and so it's a good way to see how it does sit with people. On another level, we had a song on our first record that we enjoyed making, we enjoyed recording, and it feels a little silly. And then we played it live, and that's when people went to go get a drink, no? And so that got cut from the set.
So, and you haven't played it again? You just don't play it anymore?
No, we've got others that we can play. It's better.
How do you choose your playlist? What are we going to listen to in your forthcoming shows here?
So we have a show here in San Diego next Friday. It's our record release show, and so it's we're getting a headlining show for that. And then so we sit around and look at all of our songs and think about what, you know, it's the start. What do you start with? What do you put in the middle? And what do we end with? And then thinking about transitions from one song to another, because we are switching instruments during the thing. And, you know, can we go from here to here without, you know, taking too much of a pause and losing the momentum? So then we'll play that set and make any adjustments to it along the way. But
also, that means
also trying to make a mix of older songs from this record, and then, as I said, new songs that are, you know, new previews.
Cool. Is there anything we have left in the unspoken that do you want our audience to know about your forthcoming visit, about just the band, about the EP? We haven't even talked about the name of the EP. How is it called?
String Ladders.
String ladder. What is a string ladder? I'm sorry to.
That's a good question, right? So I like to be a little cryptic in some of the song "String Ladder" was like the first line of that. Yesterday I climbed up a string ladder, which I think for me was in that song just kind of searching for somebody, right? But being nervous about it. And so like the idea of a rope ladder is vulnerable, but maybe the idea of a string ladder is even more vulnerable. And so then that was for that song. And then we thought for the title of the record, it could also, you know, there's a lot of obstacles and vulnerabilities out there. And so it's kind of, that gets explored throughout the record, I think. So, but I think one of the things that we're hopefully most interested in is getting people to pay attention to the video of What Would I Know, Yo Que Sé, that was done by Hugo Crosswade, and it's part of our collaboration with Ruben. You know, the song is about it's about those obstacles that we humans put in the way, like whether it's a border fence or discrimination, or, you know, saying I don't like you because you come from there, or because you're gay, or whatever it is, and that in the end, we all just want the same thing, right? So if we can get rid of those obstacles, then we can make those connections, right? And that speaks to the kind of work that we're trying to do. Is you look, when you make these connections, when you avoid those obstacles or climb over those, good things happen, right? We learn from one another. We can grow with one another. And so that theme of the song, that theme, and then also, and so when initially the idea was that we would have an English version and a Spanish version, but when we did that and Dave Para was mixing it, we did one verse me, one verse Ruben, and that made sense, because it just makes sense that it's a bilingual song because it's about those connections, and Hugo's work on it is just it's incredible. You know, we're going to submit it to film festivals and things.
So it is already available. You can already go to streaming like YouTube and places like that and just watch it now.
The video is available on July 22nd. The song comes out on all platforms on July 23rd, along with the rest of the album.
Perfect. So we will remind people in Grita Radio when the video comes out so that they watch it. Again, it's Yo Que Sé.
What would I know?
What would I know? Yo Que Sé. Perfecto. Exactly. And of course, no se olviden de las presentaciones finales de julio, principios de agosto, el 7 de agosto en Bajo Circuito y los demás días van a estar en Querétaro, Puebla, where else?
Y Rey Vinilo in Mexico City.
Y Rey Vinilo. So yeah, so there are more than enough opportunities for you to catch them, for the people to catch you here. So so yeah, we'll keep reminding people so that they don't forget it. Thank you so much for your time. Really, it was a pleasure to finally meet you. I am pretty sure you're going to be in one of those shows. I'm really looking forward to hearing you. And thank you from Grita Radio. You know, this is your house. That you have any other recommendations for like your social network place or where people can find more information about it?
Instagram, that's probably the best place to find us. We're at The Color 49.
And that is with numbers or with letters?
All spelled out, all letter. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
That's very, very important. And if you can find me, and also I would love you to follow me on Instagram, everybody that is listening, it's @barcelo.axel, BARCELO.AXEL. That would also be great if you could follow me. Thank you so much. Please feel, yes, follow me. Thank you so much. And this has been Axel Barceló, Phil Beaumont, and we'll see you later.
Ciao. Gracias.